kind of thing. They do this thing, they always go like this, they go, well, long story short, and then they finish it. I'm not kidding, it's true. And it's great, and it's like you're really thankful, but occasionally there are these times where you kind of would like to have a little more, behind the thing. I'll give you an example. When this was the summer before my senior year in high school. I grew up in a small town called Libertyville. It was, at that time, it was north of Chicago and fairly rural. I think it's kind of attached now, but a lot of farms and ranches and this, that. And I grew up in sort of a tract area, small tract homes. And I remember sitting on one summer, I was sitting on the stoop out front, and Sally Carter walked by. And now Sally lived like down the block and on the other corner. And it's funny, she's a neighborhood kid, so you didn't notice them. But she was walking by, and she was 2 years younger than me, and I was sitting out there, and she turned and she said hi, and for the and she was cute. I mean, she had these beautiful green eyes and short dark hair, and it was like for the first time, the kid in the neighborhood had grown up, and I was whoa, I was totally enraptured with this thing. So one thing led to another, a few more highs, and suddenly it evolved into holding hands, walking in the park, and we got a thing going, And it was a great summer of just going to the pizza place and going to movies and, sitting at home and listening to the Fleetwoods and the Letterman albums. And so, and your parents even liked me, which was really cool. So anyway, this went on, and it went through the summer and evolved into the senior year, and she was kind of the envy of her friends because she was dating a senior, kind of thing, and it was great. Well, anyway, we moved across, into the spring. Spring was coming, and of course it was time, what was approaching was the senior prom. And quite naturally, I asked her to the senior prom, which was a really big deal. I mean, for a sophomore to go to the senior prom, so, she was envy of her friends, and she went out and she got this beautiful green velvet number that just matched her eyes, and we were, everything was going great, and we were both looking forward to it, so we got about 2 weeks from the prom, and, well, long story short, she died. Okay, so, we'll do something a little different now. That's terrible. I wouldn't make up anything. I didn't tell that last night. It was not appropriate for the last night. I get away a lot more with you folks. Go into the Caribbean again. Once I get this tune. Just for this. I love Latin music. I love the Latin culture. I've been fortunate enough to travel to Spain a few times, and a few of the third world countries stretched out through Central America and the Caribbean, and I love their music. I love Brazilian music. I love everything Latin. And, this is a tune from Cuba, and it's a lullaby. It's a traditional tune, as far as I know. That it's one of those anonymous kind of things. I always tell people I wrote this because it's really good, and I can get away with it. So when I do an album, it's going to be on there by Eric Michaels. Who can contest? It's called Rumi Negrita. You have to picture yourselves now, strolling along the beach right next to the ocean with the waves crashing and the palms overhead and the wind in the palms and a Corona in each back pocket and just sort of cruising down and the sun's coming down. These are good thoughts with what you're facing in the next 6 months.
That was me.
pretty swimmingly. You know, we've got our popcorn and our goods, and so we're going down the aisle. And on the way down the aisle, I just, something seems odd, and I look down and I notice my fly is open. I would much rather have had a pimple. This is devastating. This was horrible. It was like, you know, oh my God. So the wheels start turning, and you know, the left brain takes over, and you've got to rectify this situation before, you know. So I get this plan. The plan's great. You know, when we go down to we get to our aisle and we're sidling in, and we finally get to our seats as we're sitting down. You know, I'm just gonna go, you know, and then everything's gonna be okay. So what happens? You know, we get to the aisle, and you know, we're sliding in. You know, excuse me, by people and all that. We get to our things, and I sit down and I pull out my zipper, and I hear this blood-curdling scream, and I realized that I had the girl's hair in the seat in front in my fly. She did one of these. And I ran home, and I was like, I was like 2 miles from my house. I ran all the way home.